Good turnaround Tuesday, Warriors. How's everyone doing today? Hi, Alexander, Ingmar. Hi, Bran. Ryan's here. AJ, James. Hi, Blake, Laura. Okay, so my turnaround Tuesday candidates are gold and NASDAQ. So gold had a little three drive here. It's been diverging. I'll give it a chance. You have to risk about $10. And also, you have a little three drive happening here in NASDAQ. So we'll see what happens here. Expecting some type of correction. And I think I'll start off with Ryan.
Morning, sir.
How are you, buddy? So tell us about what happened at the RBA and what your thoughts are.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a shift from them being hawkish to being less hawkish. They removed reference, or they said they hadn't at this meeting explicitly thought about a rate hike. Where that had been the case in prior meetings, they talked long and hard about whether there was justification for a hike. So it seems like they've shifted that further off the edge of the table. They're not ready to turn dovish just yet and talk about cuts and how big cuts are going to be. But it's one little step, just as I say, removing that hawkish hike rhetoric for now.
Okay, so as far as the currency, I have this line that it's playing with. Here's the big look on it. It's, I have it like as an ascending triangle, and I thought maybe it'd be smart to wait for two closes above it. So this would be the first. See if it holds it. But
Yeah.
the formation goes. I guess I'll put up the weekly for you. Goes all the way back here.
Dale, your microphone is really quiet, buddy.
So there it is, right there. Maybe I'm not talking loud enough too. So what do you think? I mean, do you go with I don't even know if you consider this a breakout or a valid line or anything, but do you go with Aussie strength here, or do you just sit on your hands, wait for a better opportunity?
I think everyone's tech is everyone's tech. Your line is there.
Yeah.
I think that this weekly candle opening above 68 is important for me. As you can see, it's right bang on that 68 level, the bottom of that, which is my real level. But we've obviously had some little highs, 68.20s, that sort of thing. Is this a breakout? It's a partial breakout. There's a big level still coming in at just into the high 68, 69s. So if you took a horizontal off those levels, exactly.
Right. So instead of tagging this high, you just go straight across and then look left and you have, exactly. Okay. I see.
So this is one break. So if you want to trade the break here, fine. But you know where your next speed hump is coming in around that 69 area. If we break that, then we might be off to the races. But even on that weekly chart, you've got a big moving average there coming in just shy of that big 70 level. So we had a small dip over the RBA on that shift, and then it's come back again, and we're in a position now, I think, where, and it's caught me a bit by surprise, where it seems the market is taking this big hike, big cut from the Fed, and now it's had the PBOC throwing the kitchen sink at it overnight as well, which is something I've been warning about for the last couple of weeks. The market is seeing these rate moves as a bit of a boon to economic growth rather than just trying to protect what they've got, particularly the US, if you know what I mean. Everything in the US points, this rate cut was to ease a soft landing, but the market's going, well, hey, what if this actually stokes a revival and we see growth picking up and whatnot? So we're seeing commodities rally, oil rallying, gold still up there, copper's, took a flight.
Copper's having a good day because of that. Did China have a big day?
Yeah, China
Did the
stocks
markets
did.
respond? Yeah.
Yeah, 5% or something like that.
Uh,
But they really did throw the kitchen sink at it. I mean, we follow China on the Flow Show a lot and here, and they've been doing all little bits and pieces. Like they changed one rate by 10 pips the other day, a small one, and they've done this and this. But then last night they came out. They said they're doing the big one, the RRR, by 50 pips. They're doing mortgage rates by 50 pips. They're doing the 7-day repo by 20 pips. They're doing the MLF and the LPR by 20 to 30 pips. They haven't given a date for those, but they've just come out and said we're cutting all these rates, blanket cuts, and we're creating a special program where funds and hedge funds can access money from the PBOC to go and buy equities. So it really
wow.
is a big move. But I thought
It
that would
almost
bring
sounds
some,
desperation.
yeah.
Smacks
Well,
of it.
as I've been saying, they've been doing all these little tinkering moves and nothing's really been changing. And now it seems that the big guns are coming out. But it's a strange move because I thought the yuan would weaken on the back of that. Hence why I've been trying some longs, but it's gone the other way. So again, this is the market maybe saying, oh, actually, if this works, it's going to increase growth, global growth, and if it happens at the biggest economies, the US and China, well, that's going to be good for everyone else.
Yeah, I'd say so because they could have dragged the whole world into it. I mean, Europe's wavering. Now
Yeah,
we're cutting rates, so important. I just wanted to update. I'm out of long Nat Gas because it hit a target. I don't know if it's done going up, but target was 250, 260, and
nice.
next,
Well done, coach.
Yeah,
yeah.
nice one,
So
mate.
it was just a measured move from here to here, and it was a pretty classic tech play. And it pulled right back to the breakout, and then we had these days. So
Love
that's
it.
it. Yeah. Um, I also think that you have to be careful being long gold because it's been great, okay, but it's also I think ripe for correction. You have a little three drive to a top formation. Even with this last leg, it didn't confirm. You would have thought with a rally like this that momentum would have done better, but it didn't. And it's probably the pain trade now, because who the hell wants a short gold with escalation occurring between Israel and Hezbollah? And I heard an analysis about that if Israel Hezbollah is Iran's insurance policy in that geographic area. And Israel's really decapitated command and control with blowing up everything, with walkie-talkies and airstrikes, the biggest since '06. So I mean, this hasn't happened in a long time. Um, so you would think you just have to keep buying gold. So we'll see. I think it's ripe for a correction. And you have a nice little three drive in NASDAQ today. See how it's acting. Yeah. And I'm not looking for a crash. Even if the S&Ps come off from here, maybe back to, 56 or so. I've seen this labeled as like this is 1 of 5, and then we get 2 of 5, then 3, 4, 5. So anyway, it feels like things could come off today that have been running. And again, it's all one market. I'd like to see the dollar get going for a move up towards 102, but that's not happening yet.
I think
And
it could happen, but I think the dollar by default is getting hit against a lot of commodity currencies. So it's a
yeah,
bit of a mixed dollar picture. Probably your Dixie's not doing an awful lot because neither is euro dollar.
I
But
actually put out a call to buy Canada yesterday, and then it looked good, and now it doesn't look so good. I'm risking the lows, a little bit under the lows. So we'll see. If it turns good, I think he has a chance to trade up towards 37. But
Well,
right
that's
now,
actually flag support, but
is it?
Dale, yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
grab it then, because that's what's keeping me back from adding to Aussie longs. But I could be wrong on both. Canada could puke, and Aussie could keep going.
Well, it could end up being more of a more of a crude oil story, as crude oil's
Yeah,
above resistance now.
yeah, it negated the breakout, didn't it?
Um,
Breakdown, the failure.
breakdown. Yes, correct. That is
Yeah,
correct. Because the key level we were looking at is right here. You can see
yeah,
this is previous support,
yeah.
current resistance. That's held us all since middle of last week. It finally broke today. So, you know,
Okay.
so yeah, actually crude's moving. Take a real quick look at it. Then I'm going to go back. Yeah, so here you go. And
Yeah,
you can see how it's finally broken higher. I mean, obviously the tensions in the Middle East have, it's got everybody concerned. And if you're short crude, I mean, this is a false breakdown, pretty classic.
yeah.
And now
You saw it at the lows, Blake. You
we
were talking about it when it got just above that bottom blue line,
yeah.
and then you had another warning getting back over your red line. So yeah, I mean, you saw it last week that this was a false breakdown.
Yeah, it's been and I think there's a lot of naysayers that are still short. So,
Uh-oh.
everybody's recession and, global growth, blah 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 and I think that downside played out because so many people were long because of the Middle East tensions, but just really too early. And so now you have a situation where things could really, probably squeeze and we could probably get past the 200 DMA and back above 80. Things are not decelerating in the Middle East. They're actually accelerating. So
No one believes that Iran would block the Strait of Hormuz because they need the income. But that would send crude like, I don't know, what, 40, 30, $40 higher
yeah,
right
I mean
away. Well, what do you think,
yeah.
Ryan? What would Iran interfering with traffic through the Straits of Hormuz due to oil prices?
Oh yeah, of course, send it higher. But then they've got to get through all the US and other naval ships floating
Yeah,
around there, making sure that doesn't happen.
yeah, that's why they're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
mean it would send Brent. There's another
like
good
to 100,
example of
like $50 higher overnight.
it.
I've
It
had
could
some
be a crazy move.
I've had some strange questions coming across from X, and not just one, but a question like people saying, Dale, if the U.S. dollar wasn't accepted for payments of oil, what would you want to be long? Oil's the obvious one, but probably all commodities. So there's some stories floating around. We've had embargoes before, so who knows where this thing's going, but certainly isn't quieting down. Uh, so uh,
You're
we're
right.
on the verge, aren't we? Blake, feels like we're on the verge of, if Iran intervenes, there we go.
I mean, it could be.
So
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I don't trade on end of
I know.
days type of stuff, but yes, that's always it's definitely a risk. And that's the thing is when if you sit around and you wait for like the worst case scenario to happen, it's probably never going to happen. So, you got to be prepared for it like mentally, but we got to continue to just be like, okay, well, where are the break points? And you
Yeah,
guys can, obviously see them in crude oil now. Yeah, I got a
yeah.
couple other things I want to discuss, Ryan. This is out overnight and I want you guys, I know there's a lot of RBA comments, and this is exactly what Ryan was talking about earlier. Bullock says near term board doesn't see interest rate cuts, but then again, we are not thinking of what size we are not thinking of what size we eventually will cut rates by. Well, what? So you're wait a second. So you're not seeing cuts, but but what size you guys are talking about it? You say you're not talking about, but you're actually talking about it. So anyway, it's interesting how Bullock's playing that. But I want to show you this comment that came from Ueda. Ueda says an unwinding of short-term speculative yen positions, which was partially behind the market route, likely run its course. So Ueda basically he's basically doing a victory lap. Is this a George Bush Jr. moment?
Yeah, anytime any of these guys do that, like Powell at Jackson Hole.
Yeah, and that's going to be opposite of probably every macro person that you've listened on YouTube in the last month, because they'll tell you that the next yen move is going to cause the quote unquote crash in the markets. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've heard say that over the last month. Well, Ueda says it's over, but Ryan, what do you think? Do you think it's over?
Well, he's talking about the speculative moves, and if anyone's best placed to know, it's him, because he'll know what's going through the banks and what they're up to and what the positioning is. So if he says that move's been unwound a lot, then he's probably right. The price action seems to confirm it. We're 500 odd pips, 500 pips off the earlier low, and we made that low before the Fed. So the fact we couldn't go lower after the Fed or on the Fed shows you that something had already changed in that situation before we even got to the Fed. So for me, I think we are seeing it. We're seeing volatility come down in dollar yen now. I think that's going to continue now. The big excitement around the Fed is over. And I think we've got a big solid level down there to look at now, 141.39. And we'll see where it goes from here. But for now, it can't get over 144.50 and hold a move. So that's still the level on the top side. I think we might move into a range somewhere, maybe 147, 139, 140, consolidating in that sort of area.
You know me, Ryan, and Dale definitely knows this about me. I love position squeezes. I love it when traders are caught off guard. And right now, every wannabe yen expert is caught off guard. They're the ones that were, when we were trading around 140, they're like, oh yeah, we're going to 120, and the yen strength is gonna create the next market crash. I'm ready for them to get squeezed. And where I think, since we had a false breakdown, I love, technically it matches up well. Dale, you talked about, dollar strength. Well, how about if the dollar yen does clear what Ryan's talking about to 140, 144.50, and the next thing you know, we're trading back at the 38% retracement. Because me personally, I actually think the yen's going to strengthen. I believe this divergence in monetary policy is going to play out, and I do believe we'll probably see,
So I think this is part of the dollar pop. With this, yields going back to almost 4% on the 10-year, and the S&P's taking a breather.
Like I said, I think this is going to squeeze higher, and then you look to sell it in the high 148s, and you look for a move right back down again, and that's
to fill out a right shoulder here.
Yeah, it could maybe it is a head and shoulder. I mean, it could be. I mean, long term. I mean, this is head and shoulder patterns are reversal patterns. They're not continuation patterns. So you have a shoulder, head, shoulder. Yeah. I mean, it's that works. Yeah, I think that works. But that's going to be, I was talking to one of our traders yesterday. He's been with us for a few years. It was his first go into the trader funding program. He's kind of one of those people that are in our chat room, but is a lurker, that doesn't communicate much in our chat rooms. We get those, there's people that are in there that are not chatting with all of us, showing charts and everything else, which is totally fine. But I was talking to him yesterday, and I was talking about him like about the big setups. I'm like, I wait for, there are certain setups that I'll wait like literally weeks or months for. And this is one of them. Like I hope the dollar yen gets back to 148 to 150. I will short the living shit out of this thing up there. But the challenge that most traders have is the
Waiting.
patience. Yeah, because I need to get paid. I've been sitting in front of my computer for 12 hours straight for the last 3 days, and I haven't made any trades. They can't do that long. I mean, people want to get paid for their work. I work, and how am I? I'm not seeing any monetary payout. So then you start trading for no reason. But I sit around and wait for these setups. These are the setups that I will wait for. So anyway, I think it's going to be a good one. But Ryan, what do you think about a little squeeze here in the dollar yen?
Yeah, as I say, it's very possible. We've obviously, as I said to Dale earlier, it's not all dollars are moving in the same direction at the moment, and I think that's maybe just keeping yen and dollar yen just in a little bit of a flux at the moment. But if we get above 144.50 and hold it, then we should be heading higher.
And this is the dollar index, big range that I think is playing right now. And the reason why I believe it's eventually going to break to the upside is post FOMC. I mean, post FOMC, we created a low below channel support. You can see it right through here. We created that low, and we've popped. Now we haven't done much since then, but I still believe that the dollar is going to be playing to the upside. I think that's going to be the one to be looking at. One of the other things I did want to talk about it this today, because if you guys aren't focused on it today from yesterday, well, you weren't in the ForexAnalytix chat room, and B, you probably didn't listen to the week ahead video, but you got to be paying attention today because it's not too late. We have the Swiss National Bank on Thursday. And I am in the camp that the Swiss National Bank is very, very aware of the strength of the Swiss franc. You can obviously see this is the Swissy, right? We're not far from crapping the bed moment in the dollar Swiss. I mean, you look at that, and I mean, this is when the Swiss National Bank removed the floor, would have been right there, right? Here, let me put it on a weekly chart and kind of fix everything here. Sorry, guys. Okay. So you can see we're not far from there. If you go and you look at the Euro Swiss, here's a better example, actually. You look at the Euro Swiss, and I'll just pull up one that's got a little bit more data here. We are near like all-time lows, pretty much. I don't know if it's historic all-time lows or, close to, right? They don't want any more Swiss franc strength. They don't. And they meet on Thursday. How many times a year does the Swiss National Bank meet, Ryan, versus the FOMC?
4. They meet every quarter.
Yeah, they meet every quarter. They don't meet like, the Fed chair or the Federal Reserve or most other central banks that are 7, 8, 9, 10, rattling, jumping on wires and sending messages and prepping the market to do this, that, and the other thing. The Swiss National Bank is really good at surprising
manipulating its own currency.
Yes, and okay, you said it, not me. But the fact of the matter is they're meeting this week, and they're not oblivious to what's happening in the Middle East. They're not oblivious to the Swiss franc gaining, a lot of strength, as you can see the Euro Swiss near really important supports. And if you want to avoid that, you are going to move up rates, or move down rates and cut rates aggressively, because the Fed's already given you the green light to do it. The Fed just cut by 50. If I'm the Swiss National Bank, I want to cut by 50, but that's not what the market is expecting, is it? Ryan?
No, it was Reuters poll out, and they use all their economists for their expectations, and 30 out of 32 expect a 25 pip cut on Thursday, which obviously puts the price risk if they go at 50, which has been mooted that they might go at 50.
Yeah, and if they do that, the Swissy is going to break higher. Now I showed you guys, the Euro Swiss. I've already been, building a position. I talked about it on the week ahead video if you guys were listening to that. But look at the dollar Swiss, starting to find a little bit of a base here at the 50% retracement. But check this one out. Look at the New Zealand Swiss franc. I mean, the Kiwi's been strong. I don't know. I just missed it somewhere. Let me find it. Oh, I just passed it. There it is. Look at the New Zealand Swiss. Now, this is something we were just chatting about in the chat room, about an hour and a half ago, and it just continues to break out. This is a big breakout here. The Aussie Swiss breaking out too. You can see it right here, right? When you have all these Swiss pairs that are starting to show some life, if you end up getting ahead of that, and then the Swiss National Bank does cut rates by 50, next thing you know, whether you're talking about the dollar Swiss or the Euro Swiss, like the dollar Swiss would be trading well above 85.35, probably close to the 50 DMA, after a move like that. Just think about what it does to the other Swiss pairs. So just something I think everybody should be paying attention to. Ryan, do you have any comments about what the Swiss National Bank may or may not do?
Yeah, if we look on the other side as well, what if they only go at 25? Are we going to test the lows in that dollar Swiss?
Yeah.
Because we haven't gone straight too far from them. And even if they go at 50, is it really? We're not going to see this going back to parity or anything like that soon, are we? So I think if you get a pop on a 50, then it's got to get over that 87-ish, 87, 88 area. Yeah,
I mean, 87.30, as you can see it right here. I mean, that's 200 pips away. Please give me 200 pips.
Yeah,
I'd be happy with a 200 pip move in my favor. I mean, right now,
if it's a disappointing one and we do see a dip and we test those lows, I might have a little nibble down in those low 83s.
Yeah, I mean, there's huge support right through here. I mean, what's your risk? I mean, that's the thing about trading. Those are the things that we talk about every day, guys, is we can't control what the market's going to do. I try to get in front of certain things. If I favor the odds, happening one way or the other, but it's actually what we can control is our risk. And so if I know where my risk is and it's manageable, I'm willing to take the trade if I feel the odds are in my favor. So that's what we discuss that all day long, every day while you're in the ForexAnalytix chat room. So that's the best place to find us. You want to talk with me all day and just, say, hey, Blake, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? That's where to find us. And, this is the last week that we have the 8-year anniversary sale. So take advantage of it. Buy 1 month, get 1 month free, 30% off semi-annual, 40% off annual. It's the best month to do it because this is when you're going to get the price discount. So again, if you weren't talking about the Swiss National Bank yesterday, well, maybe you should have been in the ForexAnalytix chat room talking about it. Listen, I'm a little under the weather, have been for the last couple of days, Dale. So I'm going to try to manage my my voice. What are you thinking about? What are you thinking about today, as far as something you're thinking to trade, Dale?
Yeah, my turnaround Tuesday candidates were gold as a sell, as a potential reversal, and NASDAQ as a potential reversal.
Okay, Ryan, what are you thinking about today?
I'm just thinking about what's going on with this risk move, because I'm in a couple of trades that it's going against me, like dollar NOK, that's busting through the 1045. So I'm thinking about maybe folding that up. We're just still washing out what's happening from the Fed. I think the market's doing a bit of positioning here, and I'm keeping an eye on that.
Got it. Thanks for bringing that up. I think the US dollar Norwegian krone is really at some very critical support here. Massive support, as you guys can see. We are winding up, and nothing like a little false breakdown. What?
I know. The NOK looks broke.
No, I think I love trading the Norwegian krone. It's one of my more favorite currencies.
I just wanted to make a rhyme. It was just a rhyme.
You did a good job, Dale.
All right.
I want to just prepare everybody just to watch these Swiss pairs. Not necessarily the dollar Swiss. I don't think that's necessarily where the game's at, and the game's in like some of the other Swiss pairs. Sterling's been so damn strong. Maybe even the pound Swiss is, I mean, you can see how it's just launching. Try to find a pullback here, but if you can't, maybe even the Euro Swiss might be a better option. But that's something ahead of Thursday morning that I think you should have on your radar. Also, Dale, I'm with you. I'm not a big believer. I don't want to be chasing the markets up here. I don't want to be fading them either. But if it is a turnaround Tuesday, if everybody, if you watch the week ahead video, I told you where the breakdown points were, where I'm really looking to get short the S&P. But if you don't know that, just look at the breakout point. It's
Yeah, nice chart.
56.80. I mean, this is as long as we're above there, there's no reason to be bearish. But if we get below it, that's when you have to start getting a little nervous. And the lack of follow through is, I would say, is a little unnerving. But China's behind this move right now, and they've taken a lot of steps overnight to try to shore up their economy. And people here in North America are probably going to take notice to that. So yeah, I would be watching equity markets when they open, because we're probably going to get some buyers coming in today due to the PBOC's actions overnight. So anyway, there is don't forget, guys, there is economic data coming out. We have house price index, we've got consumer confidence, and I do want to mention that overnight, well, in Australian trade, we're going to have inflation data again. So just a heads up for those of you that think after North America, that's it. No, there's still more happening around the clock. So Dale, I'm going to pass it over to you, because I'm assuming you have Adam Button from Forex Live here.
He is, and I hope you feel better. And I'll see you later.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'll be fine. Just a little bug.
All right.
Well,
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, buddy. All right, guys.
And Dale,
Welcome
you're a
back.
little muffled, by the way.
Still? Okay.
Now you're good.
Okay. Adam, welcome back to
Hey,
F.A.C.E.
Dale,
How are
can
you?
you got me there?
Got you. So it's interesting. We talked before the Fed, so we could go over some of the stuff we talked about before the Fed. I'll share my screen
Yeah,
unless there was something you want, unless there was something you wanted to share.
You got the charts nicely teed up there, Dale.
Okay. All right. So we were talking before the Fed. Anything surprised you? We were talking about things to fade. Everything faded for a day at least. But the only thing that really had follow through from that fade was yields. And
Yeah, well,
wondering
I said 50, right? Like you asked, put me on the spot. I said 50. We got 50, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't, that it's getting pretty tough to trade Fed day. I mean, there weren't a lot of moves that you could have caught, even with the news on that one. To your point on tens, they've been climbing, and I think we're pricing out the recession trade. I think at 360 or, down towards 350, 360, you're pricing in a recession, right?
Yeah.
And I think yields are climbing because the market's saying, okay, we're going to take away a bit of the recession trade here, and we're pricing in a soft landing. And I think that's really been the trade since the day after the Fed. That afternoon of the Fed was just a brutal one. And the market's just taking Powell for his word to say, we want to preserve the strength of the economy, or maintain the strength of the economy, I think was the exact word he used. And the market's saying, you know what, maybe he might just do it.
Okay. So I know that you think that long term, you'd be looking for a break to buy bonds, right?
Yeah, it's gone. It's gone a little too far, a little too fast, right? You go back to July bonds. Pretty incredible rally, 2 months straight.
Yeah.
And I think one was pricing out inflation, and two, pricing in, if we stretch that out, one was pricing in the end of sort of the inflationary era, that kind of first leg, and then the last leg, you're kind of thinking the Fed was behind the curve. Now market's not quite so sure, but where should you be in tens? 380, 390 seems about right. Like maybe test 4. I think there'll be a lot of buyers at 4. So
that's where, I like those targets, and that's exactly what the tens measure. If they and they're starting to break out through one of the moving averages, all moving averages here on the 4. So, you basically go 360 to 380, closes over 380, you got 4%.
And that's China, right, today? I mean, that's got to
Yeah,
be China. There's no other news. China's stimulating. China's been exporting deflation for a while.
right.
It's been a drag on the global economy compared to expectations anyway. And now you've got China, the market thinking, all right, we got some monetary action today. Maybe we'll get some more fiscal action behind it. Still a couple more days to go this week in China. And then it's a holiday next week in China. And you're thinking, wow, maybe we are kind of early cycle here if China's going to get things going. And that's kind of where we're at right now. And it's kind of Pollyanna, right? To say we're in a good spot here in the economy, but that's what the market is trying to do. I mean, it can tip pretty easily, I think, but the
Uh-huh.
US is in a better spot than most other places. And even something like Canada, which I think is in a much tougher spot than the US, it hasn't really rolled over in a sort of disorderly way. I mean, there's a recession here, I think now, but it's not like a brutal recession and nothing that cutting 200 and 250 basis points can't fix. And
Yeah,
the
you
Fed's
know
got
what?
that ammunition too.
Yeah, and you describe a lower USD CAD as a soft landing trade. Can you explain to our viewers what you mean by that?
Right. I mean, and especially with China working, or maybe potentially, listen, China's burned everyone so many times, but yeah, the Canadian dollar is pro-cyclical currency. So anytime you have a stronger global growth, you'll see better oil prices, minerals, metals prices, and you're just going to see more trade, and Canada benefits from all those things. And it's kind of a bit of a lever trade on the US economy as well. So, there's a lot, I think there's a lot to worry about on the domestic front outside of the cycle that we're in and that rate
Yeah,
cuts can't quite fix. But that would be the trade in dollar CAD if you like it. I'd probably prefer about 5 different ways to play a soft landing, starting with just commodities.
yeah. Okay. Um, do you have what narrative? Because I need a narrative. I could probably get blown out of the trade anyway. I'm trying longs down here. All right, Adam. Yeah, I think that this was ABC and this is ABC, and we have one more wave up in Canada towards 37. What fundamental narrative would support that this kind of move?
Well, Canada's
And then,
uniquely weak. I'm as bearish on Canada as I've been, and its housing is a real big problem here. And then on top of that, I think it's like long term Canada's economy is impaired. Um, Immigration is no longer going to happen in Canada at the levels it was. Canada GDP per capita GDP Canada has been negative for 6 quarters. Um, And so it really just immigration has fueled all the growth in Canada and propped up a lot of asset prices.
okay,
And that's just coming to an end. I don't know if it's not exactly a cyclical story, but the domestic picture is poor. And then if you want to look at the global growth story, I mean, it can tip, right? It can really tip. And you think, okay, yeah, the Fed's cutting, but you're still at, well above 4% Fed funds. So it's pretty restrictive, and the Bank of Canada is way behind the curve. They should have been cutting 50 long before now. They might actually come and cut 50 now, but I think it's too late.
okay. Um, yen, we talked about the US dollar yen being pretty tightly correlated with the 10-year chart. So if the 10-year continues higher, we might get more now that every amateur became a yen expert
Huh.
after a 2000 handle decline.
Well,
And
volatility really gets people excited, and it is. It's a great trade, dollar yen this year, and that's it. I mean, it's as simple as that. If you're taking out a recession in the U.S. now, you can probably comfortably price Fed funds bottom 3%. Um, and hang on to that, and you probably get a drift higher. Especially you have, I think, this weekend, the LDP in Japan will pick a new leader, which will be the new prime minister. And of course, they're not an independent central bank, and they're saying there's no need to hike rates there. And I believe they're right.
Yeah.
That they don't. I mean, it's not like 25 basis points is going to make much of a difference in Japan anyway. But so you have the US maybe not cutting as much, Japan not hiking as much, and so you get a bit better picture. But it's kind of data point to data point. I mean, US manufacturing is weak. We saw that again in the data yesterday. Not a big part of the economy. And services looks pretty strong. And then this is your China trade here, right, Aussie?
Yeah.
Um,
It looks like a breakout to me.
Well, you would have liked a little more on this China stimulus news today, but it's held up. I mean, RBA obviously a factor today. Rates are to remain on hold for the time being. This is kind of working towards a rate cut, and that's obviously coming. Looks like the damage isn't as bad in Australia as Canada from high rates, and they didn't hike rates as high. I think it was
Yeah.
probably a mistake in the long term, but yeah, the Aussies I mean, how can you argue with that chart? Like you said, it's moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
But it's really like China. I mean, China's got everyone so burned, right? We're
Yeah, I
here.
know. The
If they would have
reopening
done these
trade.
moves like coming out of COVID, where we're at now in terms of monetary policy, it'd be a different world. But it
Yeah.
was pretty big move on the monetary side today. And we've seen this before though. And everybody's burned. It's cheap. It's been cheap for a while. And like look, 4% moves in China stocks overnight. It's big, and I think it's the only story that matters right now is China. It's just hard to get a handle on China. Nobody has a handle on China. It's opaque. The
China
data
doesn't
isn't
have a handle.
trustworthy.
China
Um,
doesn't have a handle on China.
yeah, and sentiment is a hard thing to turn around there. Some pretty big moves on mortgages, but you have a lot, like house prices have just been obliterated there. And in the US, how long did that take to turn around from the
Couple,
financial crisis? 6
at
years?
least, yeah, at least, took a few years to bottom before it stabilized.
Yeah, and I mean, and before money came back in.
Yeah.
But equities, I mean, Chinese equities can go. They're very cheap. And yeah,
Okay.
copper doing a bit better today. So the
That
market
natural,
believes it, but
yeah, the
Natty,
natural gas trade hit its objective. Um, where yet the dollar can't get a bid. I was thinking that we might have a shot to rally to clean out the stop there first, but it's not acting that way,
yeah, we're highs of the
even
day
with
in the
higher
euro just
yields.
now.
Yeah,
Sterling and the euro highs of the day right now. And I think that's part of a China trade too. People forget how much Europe exports to China. It's a big part of
that's
their
true. True.
economy.
Yeah.
So a lot of things can turn on China, and the euro is certainly one of them. I'm not a bull
Cable.
on the euro. We had the IFO data out today. It's terrible. I mean, I can get the argument that the euro could squeeze higher because everyone hates it, but
Yeah, maybe
that's just
that's
not
it.
a kind of trade I like to make.
Well, EG has really been directional. So cable's been the outperformer. Um, and the news out of the UK isn't great either.
I, I don't think Bailey has really his thumb on the pulse at all. I don't get the overly hawkish stance there. I mean, they seem to come around and make the right moves eventually. But they're the high yielder now with the Fed cutting. So I just don't get that. That's not an economy that should be the high yielder.
Yeah. It's
And
a bullet.
and
I mean, it'd be hard to reach for it up here, but
like the model
it,
that you think about, I mean, I still like 130. Like you think of 160 in the old days, always at 160.
yeah,
And two long before that. But you think the model I'm thinking of right now is that the currencies are going to be punished who don't cut enough right now. I mean, the bond market, you look at break evens across the board are low.
yeah.
We're pricing in low inflation next year, the year after. And they're saying that the central banks that don't cut enough now are going to cut more later as they fall behind the curve. And I think that's where you eventually find the UK.
Okay. Now I know this is something you're very bullish, but you believe it's a 2025 or sixth trade?
2026 trade. It is a 2026 trade. And
Okay.
it's going to be a wonderful one. And how early do you want to be? I don't mind being early. And that's pretty nice response today. Like those are the kind
Yeah.
of things you're looking for. Thinking,
Yeah.
okay, China, copper believes in China.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit of a knee
Aussie.
jerk,
Yeah.
today, right? I don't want to get too excited about China. It's one of those things you see these 6% moves in a lot of
Well,
Chinese stocks, 3% copper, and you kind of are tempted to pile in to try to still be early. But even I think 3 months from now, no matter what China does, it's still going to be early if they actually get moving. And being early in China has been just a disaster for the last couple years.
okay.
But it is, I saw the Bank of America fund manager survey. I think short China was the second most crowded trade after long mag 7. So it's
Oh, so
hated.
there's
And
plenty to squeeze.
there it is. It is.
Okay. There's all right.
You've
Yeah.
got an
Everyone.
election. I suppose like Harris is probably a good one for China if you think that's what's going to happen. Though I
Why do you
don't I
think
think
Harris would be better for China
well,
than
I
Trump?
just think
Because
that
of all the tariffs that Trump wants to throw on them?
yeah, the alternative. I mean, I don't think there's any China friendly policy coming out of the US on either side, but I think just on the possibility of sort of more tariffs,
Okay.
uh, and more like haphazard, maybe. He's a very
Ad,
unpredictable guy.
Adam, what are your thoughts about the escalation in the Middle East?
I mean, the market, it's surprised. The market hasn't cared at all.
Right. That's
I
what I
think you're
mean.
just pricing in endless conflict there. Not even gold. I mean, nothing moved. So uh, I'm kind of happy to ignore it because I'm not sure that there's an edge.
Okay. All right. That's fine. Uh, in fact, that's pro. Who cares? Just trade and pull in pips.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
think you
if Iran, Israel get, I think the market's kind of said they don't want to fight. I mean, they haven't done anything about that assassination, right, in Iran.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, it sounds like they don't want to fight. So, I mean, if
Well,
Lebanon had oil, it'd be a different story.
I heard they might be forced to fight if Hezbollah is on the verge of being decapitated
Well,
because
I think
that's
they
their
already have been
that's
decapitated.
huh?
I think they already have been decapitated, no?
Well, that's what people are worried about because it's an insurance policy for Iran.
I mean, I think if you're Iran at this point, you gotta, or Hezbollah or whatever, you gotta imagine that like every policy you had was bad, or every kind of your spies, you've been so badly infiltrated
Yeah,
that you almost have to go back to the drawing board and play defense.
yeah.
Um,
Okay. I
I
mean,
don't,
that's the
I
way it
don't know.
looks. But I mean, this is the heaviest bombardment since
It is.
2006.
It is, and I mean they're talking about a ground war. I mean, I don't know, but I don't know how to.
Adam, do you get any sniffings besides like real, radical people looking for, things like the dollar won't be accepted for oil payments or any kind of oil embargo that could result from the escalation in the Middle East? Iran? Do you think Iran would retaliate, even though it would hurt them to make it difficult to transport oil through the Straits of Hormuz?
I mean, at this point, I honestly think like Israel could bomb Iranian oil production and Iran wouldn't do anything. I think they
Okay,
just
wow.
feel like they must be overmatched at this moment. I mean, I guess they're getting into bed with Russia, so maybe they can develop some weapons or whatnot. But
Okay, you're very sanguine about the whole situation.
I mean,
So,
it just looks like they don't want to escalate, and I don't think Israel wants to do that right now. But I'm not. I don't think the market's gone way beyond freaking out over these headlines. Now, you know what? It can change pretty quick in geopolitics, and emotion gets involved, and somebody in Israel gets killed, and I don't know. I just
maybe
haven't.
it's
Like, it's hard to see any kind of conclusion to any of this. But gold, I was asked about gold. I was talking with Kitco on Friday, and they said, okay, make a bearish case for gold. And the one that it's hard. It's pretty hard the way it's been going. Everything's working, and I
Yeah,
saw some flows out of China and India. They're just incredible. And the de-dollarization or reserve diversification trade is pretty impressive. Rate cutting. It's all working for gold, right? But China
yeah,
has been the big buyer. And the case for gold, part of it was Chinese investors couldn't put their money anywhere but gold because nothing else
right.
worked. And now, if the stock market gets going in China, I don't know, maybe that's some competition for gold. And that was one of the things I came up with. Well, China does stimulus, maybe some of that money comes out of gold. Um, then again, I mean, the problem is the currency might suffer in China as they cut rates. So if you're a Chinese domestic investor, you maybe want to get into more gold. So I don't know. That was one of the things that I thought, well, maybe that could turn gold, and it's not exactly strong today.
Yeah. How about China itself needing to sell some gold? I mean, they stopped buying. I mean, that's what they've been promoting. So, is the next step that they're going to come in and buy more,
I
or
don't know.
could they just wouldn't take much.
I think
Just
they're going to
any
buy more.
news that they just sold a little, I think would shake
Yeah.
up the market, don't you?
I mean, it would be funny if they wanted. I mean, they want to add more to reserves. I think it's pretty clear that they have pretty small reserves and they're trying to build them. They stopped buying, what was it, 2,000, 2,300? Um,
Yeah.
they should have kept up buying, I mean, given the price now, but
Well, they've been
uh,
buying for years,
well, they stopped in May,
years and
right? And
years.
it was pretty impressive. When they stopped in May, I sold gold. I mean, that was a pretty negative headline,
Yeah.
and gold held up.
Yeah,
It went
that's what
down
I
for a
mean.
week or two.
Okay, so them not buying gold caused pretty good sell-off.
Yeah,
Can you
that back
imagine
in
what would
May, I
happen
don't
if
know.
they
Chart doesn't
came
go to
in
May.
and China sold some gold? And they would do that just on a small basis because they'd buy the break that they created.
Well, that would be, like there's a pretty good case to be made that China said they stopped buying gold. There's a pretty good case to hide what you're doing. I mean, that's the optimal move is to hide what you're doing, obscure what you're doing, or like you
Yeah,
said,
why are they
active,
announcing
like
it?
sort of disinformation. Because China, if people figured out China needs to buy,
Yeah,
like 1 million ounces of gold. And everyone's front runs it, right? Is a suboptimal policy that pre-announced that. And
yeah,
now they're saying we're not buying, but maybe they're buying in secret.
yeah, could be. Make your money in a closet, someone once told me.
Or yeah,
I
announce you're gonna sell. I mean, that's a little bit much to announce you're gonna sell and then buy it, but I don't know. All's
Well,
fair.
they did that in the grain markets all the time. They,
They
anytime you heard China was interested in buying some grain, the traders would run it up. They'd sell into it. So, you know, they use that kind of technique. And
yeah, like Charlie's saying, they're
look, it's
trying to get out of the
used
treasury.
everywhere. It's used here
Everybody's
too.
trying to
But
get out of the treasuries.
buy the rumor, sell the fact on good earnings, all that stuff. So, one other thing I wanted to ask you, as long as we're on the topic, and we're on opposite sides of the coin on this one. I'm looking for the gold silver ratio to decline. You said that you thought it would go the other way, and I want to know why you think that. You're saying you were looking for it
Well,
to head higher.
if you look
Uh,
at some of the kind of long-term peak, I'm not a big gold silver ratio guy, but if you look at some of the long-term peaks or the ends of bull markets in gold or precious metals, they tend to have a spike in this ratio, right?
like this.
Right. And so we haven't had the spike yet.
Oh,
And so
okay.
maybe it ends in that. I mean, I'm not saying it can't go down to 60 or sorry, 75 or something like that. And silver is pretty compelling catch-up trade.
Yeah.
But I'm like a werewolf. I'm allergic to
All right.
silver.
All right. All right. And so we've covered the dollar pretty much, and we've covered yields. why don't we wrap it with risk? Where's your head at on the S&Ps, Adam?
Well, listen, I mean, it's such a, it's so annoying to say the soft landing trade. Like the soft landing trade is the trade right now. And it's like it's the soft, like it's such a weak trade because everyone's kind of been in it for a while. Stocks are a record. It's a bit tired. I'm going to cheerlead the Fed. I kind of hate everything about it, but it's the right trade right now. And small caps outperform early in the cycle, rate cutting cycle. We like to think as stocks doing really well lately, but they haven't done that well outside of a lot of big names. I mean, AI is a secular trend, and I can get behind that. But I like the small caps. I heard what you were saying earlier about the Nasdaq, maybe on a bit of a reversal. I mean, yeah, things can come down a bit from here.
Yeah, I'm just looking for it to breathe.
Hey, Ryan, I think you mentioned it's still lagging. Yeah, I think it is still lagging. I think it's probably with China coming along, though. And I don't think it has to catch up all the way. Like you can't make up that gap because the Mag 7, it's a whole industry they're about to dominate. And you have Microsoft buying a nuclear power plant essentially. I mean, they're all in on AI.
Yeah.
They're not dabbling. That's a crazy move. So
well, I'll tell you what, if we get a breakout, so during interviews sometimes I get some ideas, and this is a pretty important area here. So basically, if we break out here, it would measure new highs. We'll see. I think we'll get a pullback first before that happens.
Yeah, you were pretty bullish on stocks last time we talked before the Fed.
Yeah, I'm still thinking melt up. I think they hold things together through the election. Some of the guys I know looking for highs in the S&Ps in that range from, I don't know, 58.5 to 61. Some of them think we're going to peak in October and sell off hard into the election. And then, I heard a very interesting thing. What's great about FinTwit? You end up with some followers that really have great insights that share them with you, and they're good traders. You meet people who are good traders on FinTwit. And this one guy said, Dale, here's a narrative for you. Remember when Trump was elected, Adam, and we were limit down that night?
Listen, buddy, I was all over that trade on buying that dip. When they swept both houses. It was wild.
Yeah. So he put in a pretty good low for the market there, right?
Yeah.
If he wins and it's it'll look close, but maybe it's not a landslide, that the market will rally on that news and put in a high, because it'd be like full circle from putting in an important low, which I don't even know where the S&P was when he was elected, but 3,500? I don't know, but it had a great
it was
run.
that night. It was that night of it, and I think I remember who was it. It was like one of those old timey traders too, like Leon Cooperman or something. Was bought
it wasn't him. It was Icon.
Yeah, the guy who's in all the trouble with the shorts. Icon. Yeah, he's. I mean, that crook.
He left the party and went home and started. I guess he didn't have a mobile app.
I mean, I was writing about it, and it was actually pretty similar when the Democrats swept as well. I remember it was that Senate. Remember there was the Senate runoff in Georgia?
Yeah.
And then when they had all three houses, you think, man, that's a lot of stimulus coming. And it was pretty good. And that as well. I mean, stock's been going up for a lot of reasons, but I think it's that split. It's this sort of Tea Party trade, right? Like the last time the U.S. economy had a really bad go was the Tea Party, when everybody cared about deficits for a couple years there. And the risk is we go back to that. Now, I don't really see it because I don't think the public really loves that trade. But at some point, you got to stop running 7% of GDP deficits.
Yeah. Well, the market will probably force that discipline on us, because there won't be, right now there's plenty of participation in our bond market. I mean, most auctions are going pretty good.
I mean, a year
Who's
ago, people
buying?
were talking, right? Wasn't Rick Santelli on TV there every day saying nobody's going to buy bonds anymore? And now here
Yeah.
we are, 10's back to 379.
Well, his best trade was leaving the pit to become a financial commentator.
That's a lot
Isn't
easier.
that a good trade?
It is.
Anyway, what do you want to wrap it with, my trading warrior
Well,
brother?
listen, I've talked about these things, and tomorrow I'm doing a webinar at Forex Live on some of these things about this time, and we'll talk about sort of the themes in the global economy. I got a lot of charts to go with some of these things I've been talking about. So if
What
anybody,
time?
it's 9 Eastern, so right now, 24 hours from now.
Okay.
And yeah, we'll talk about China. We're going to digest some of these moves, and yeah, I don't want to step on your toes or anything like that, but
Oh, no,
I
you're
don't
not.
do these very often, and so I got a
So
nice
a
little, mostly
rare
teed up, a little bit of work to do.
yeah, special situation report, like, because of what China's doing. That's
Exactly.
great,
So,
Adam. So,
so
I encourage people to check you out there tomorrow.
yeah, you'll see the
See
link. If
there.
you just go to our site, you'll see yeah, I'll put up something there. You'll see the ads. If you have your ads turned on, it's all there.
Okay. All right, buddy. Well, thanks for hanging out with me for a half an hour today.
I love it. It goes by so quickly, Dale. And then we got some data out here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just solid home sales price from the US. Nothing spectacular, but
Yeah. That's I'm going to grab a bottle of champagne to pop the cork, bro.
all right. No,
All right, happy days are here again.
yeah, I mean,
With
I hate to be the soft landing guy, but I don't know. It's the trade right now.
yeah,
Until the data's bad. I think you just ride it until, non-farm payrolls are, but then you got a Fed put too. It's a pretty powerful combo.
let's just call it the Sully economy. That was a soft landing of
Soft
all
landing.
time. Huh?
I haven't seen that movie yet.
Captain Sully landing we have here.
I'm gonna
All
watch
right.
this Francis Ford Coppola one there this weekend. I heard it's kind of a mess, the one he's got out with. So I'm looking forward
What's
to
it
that.
about?
It's like a city. They try to rebuild New York after a disaster, and someone wants to build a great city, and the other guy wants to do it the old ways. And it's like about corruption and
Oh,
civilization, I guess. I don't know. He
oh,
spent all his own money on it, Francis Ford. He spent like 120 million of his own money. Didn't get any financing because no one would finance it. And it's going to be a total box office disaster because the movie's a mess, they say.
huh.
But I don't know. Sometimes I
Yeah,
want to watch a disaster. So
I tell you, male pride can be very expensive later in life when you're not at the top of your game and you're still in denial that you are.
you know what? That's probably going to be
What?
the message of this movie because he's one of the greats, but
Yeah, he is,
not anymore.
Yeah. So anyway, uh please spare me spare me that that type of trip. Spare me. Maybe
I'll let
I'll
you know
have
how it
some.
goes. Let you know.
All right, buddy. So
All right.
good
Have a good
luck
day
on
trading.
yeah, good luck tomorrow,
Thanks
Adam.
everyone for
Everyone
having me.
keep in touch with Adam. Attend his webinar tomorrow. I'd like to know what he thinks is happening, see some charts about China. And at least he's going to be skeptical and show both cases. So,
Yeah, we have
uh,
lots of time. Lots of time for Q&A
all right,
tomorrow too.
all right.
All
So
right.
that's a wrap. That's a wrap, everyone. Thank you, Adam. I'll get a
Okay.
hold of you. We'll talk again in December or sooner.
Right on. Yeah. I can't wait.
All right, brother. And that's a wrap for us, everyone. I hope you have a good turnaround Tuesday. So far, I'm taking heat in gold, so might be wrong for turnaround Tuesday. We'll see. So good hunting, everyone, the rest of the day. And NASDAQ, maybe that one will work. Have a great day. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings, everybody. And I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow. Take it easy. All right, Laura. See you, Joe. You're very welcome. Yeah, Carol Icon bought the calls. All right, Andrew. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings. We'll see you tomorrow. You could be in with the team in 11 minutes on the morning edge. If you can't, sign up, take advantage of things that are on sale. And right now, ForexAnalytix is on sale. Buy the dip because it's got very good relative strength. Adios. Thank you, Laura.